Hi everyone. Once again, this is one of these serious videos, and just to let you know, there's no joke at the end. I am being serious. I think sometimes, yeah, I guess I understand my viewers wondering if I'm joking or not, because, like I said, sometimes I do, it seems like a serious video, and then at the end there's some kind of joke. Those are fun to do. But this is, I promise it's totally serious. And I've been wanting to do this video for probably close to a month, probably. And, I get a lot of praise on YouTube. I get some, I get a bit of negativity too. I think most YouTube channels do. But most of it is very positive. And like I said, I get a lot of, you're a great guy and all that. And, I feel I am a great guy. Overall, I am. I'm a good person, as I hope you can tell. This isn't planned out or anything. I don't have a script. I'm just ad-libbing as we go. I did tell my girlfriend Molly I was going to be doing this, and with her, she's a little more private, and but she didn't really say no, don't do that, so I'm doing it. So this has to do with this, like I said, it's a serious subject, and the reason I'm doing it, you have to understand, I'm not doing this to get sympathy. How do you say that? Sympathy. I'm not. I'm sure I'm going to get some nice comments, but you never know. I might get some negative ones. I might disappoint some of my viewers. But, everyone online, when you see these channels, some channels, I can just kind of tell with the channel, it's like, yeah, they're kind of putting on a show. They're kind of fake, they're not being real. And one thing I'm really proud of is I've always been myself, good or bad. Take me as I am, And that's what I love about some of the other YouTube channels I'm subscribed to. Me and Mr. Mael, Joe Mael, he's real, right? He tells it like it is. I might not always agree with what he says, but he's real, right? And I like that. Morris Gotro, my friend, he's real. And I think that's why he likes me, because I'm real too. I could name a lot of people. Beatly Tones, Beatles channel. He's a, you can just tell when people are being sincere or not, just phony, right? Same with Molly. When you see Molly on camera, she's real. And that's her. But, off camera, we have our lives to deal with. And everybody does, right? And everybody has their issues and problems, including me. One thing that's been kind of eating at me the last few months is, my health, my chronic pain, and it seems to be getting worse. And kind of to the point where I'm getting a little scared. And I'm going to be hopefully seeing my family doctor very soon to see if there's some tests that can be done. Because the pain is kind of all through my body now. It's not fun. But I love, don't get me wrong, I love doing YouTube videos, and my Patreon. It kind of takes me away from, that kind of crap. I told you there's no script. And please watch the whole video before you leave a comment, Not that there's a joke at the end, there isn't. But, I think a lot of people struggle with addictions, be it food, sex, drugs, whatever, right? And I wouldn't say I struggled, because I don't know if I was addicted or not. I probably was. But all my life, teenager, 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, I was totally against drugs. You know where this is going. I was totally against drugs. And, finding out like the Beatles, when I was a kid and finding out the Beatles were doing drugs and all that, I didn't like that. It's like kind of a negative about them, at the time. But I think, 99% of rock musicians were doing something. But I was totally against drugs, marijuana, even marijuana. I'm not going to cry in this video. I'm just trying to gather my thoughts. So even in my, my second marriage, totally against drugs. And then there was the divorce in 2012. I moved into this apartment building by myself. Well, with my 2 cats, Jinx and Mittens. And I was still against drugs, for the most part. Although, I kind of started, hearing other people, talking, oh, it's not that bad, it's good, it's not bad, you're not going to get addicted and all that. So I started to lighten up a bit about, I'm just talking about marijuana, I'm not talking about any hard drugs or anything. And so I had this one girlfriend, not Molly, back in the day. I won't mention her name out of, respect to her. But she was, she smoked pot. And so, like I said, I was kind of interested in it. And she'd be over here and she'd bring some of the pot. And I think the first time I smoked pot, it didn't do anything, And the second time, it did something. It worked. And so, it was like, wow, this is, I like this. And so that was about 9 years ago. And so what would happen through the years is when I used to work, I never smoked pot during the week, Monday to Friday, nothing. I would have my glass of wine, and alcohol has never really been a problem for me, ever. I have one glass of wine with every dinner, and that's it. And so, on the weekends, it would be party time for me, just with, by myself with music, right? So Friday nights and Saturday nights, I would loosen up. And, this is also when my chronic pain was starting. And I'm not saying, I'll get into that in a minute. But anyway, I used to smoke pot every weekend and really look forward to it. And then, there was COVID that everybody went through, which is very depressing for all of us. But still, I was mainly, I wouldn't say I would never, at that point, never during the week. But like I said, if I was working, I wouldn't, right? And then, as some of you know, I had 2 cats, and they passed away. Jinx passed away, I think it's 3 years ago this December. And then my other cat, Mittens, passed away just over a year ago. And that really, really affected me. I've had loss in my life. Not just animals, but even animals, right? I had a dog, Elmo, that was the sweetest dog. Other cats like Ernie. Just, probably like at least 8 to 10 cats in my life. But because I moved into this apartment all alone, and I was very down, and Jinx and Mittens were my buddies, right? They were my friends. They were all I'm gonna cry. They were always there for me, and a lot of you remember, especially Jinx being behind me, and I know a lot of you miss Jinx and Mittens, as do I. And then, through the years, my chronic pain, it's called Chiari malformation 1, which has to do with the brain. Yes, I have a brain. And my spine. And I know one of my friends, Tim, who I met at the Sparks concert, he also has it, but he says his is just like his shoulders are really stiff and everything. I can move my shoulders and everything, but it's just constant pain in the back of my neck and my shoulders, and now it's kind of, like I said, spread, and hopefully it's just that. And some of you might remember, a few months back, I took about a month off of YouTube. That's when I was, probably at my lowest. Even after I came back, I was still, I wanted to do YouTube videos again, but I was still, I think the word depressed is used too much, when maybe I wasn't depressed, I was just very sad. There might be a difference in that, I don't know. And, I've dealt with a lot of things in my life, from my past, like seeing my mom try and harm herself when I was 18, finding her on the couch with her wrist. But she survived that, and she had nervous breakdowns and everything, and it's a lot for a young person to deal with. And I never went to counseling or anything, and I'm open to that, by the way, but yeah, I never went to counseling, especially back in the 70s. I don't think anybody would even think of it. You just had to put up with whatever came your way. I'm staring at the picture of me with Sparks. I'll get into that, don't worry. And so I would say, well, the very worst for me was this past summer. And by the way, Molly, nothing to do with Molly. Molly doesn't like pot. She's not against it. She sometimes thinks, sometimes thought, maybe it would help my chronic pain, right? So she wasn't against me smoking pot. But I knew that it wasn't helping my pain. It was just maybe an excuse for me to smoke pot, right? There might be a point where you're still in pain, but you don't care. But, the pain was always there. And so I think, yeah, around the time, I stopped doing videos for a month. And for the next, I'd say 4 months, including the summer, I would, Molly's going through her own things, private things. So we didn't see each other for 4 months, right? But we are still connected, right? I'll just say Molly went through some very, sad things to do with family. That's all I'll say. This is going to be a 2-hour movie. So yeah, especially in the summer, it was a very dark time for me. I would be in this apartment. I would never, hardly ever, well, except to get groceries, right? Or maybe go to a record store. I would be in this apartment 90 8% of the time, not getting any sunlight or anything, which you need, of course. So that didn't help with my sadness. But I just, but like I said, when it came back to YouTube, I still, I enjoyed, even in this dark period, I still enjoyed doing the YouTube videos. I wasn't forcing myself to do it. I never would. And I just noticed as the months went by in the summer, the late summer, I was just wanting to smoke more and more and more of it and just kind of almost forget I existed, right? Hoping, I would never, I never thought of harming myself. Please, if you ever think that, talk to somebody. But, I never thought of that. But I did think, maybe I won't wake up, right? Because smoking so much, I would kind of pass out and kind of, when I was down, I was, kind of thinking, well, maybe I won't wake up, right? But I always did wake up. And so just, I don't know what it was. Maybe it was, I am a spiritual person. Maybe it was someone. Just one day, I didn't even mark the date of it, but probably a month ago, I just stopped. And by the way, there would be times, like even this year, where I did stop, but it would be for like 5 days, like a regular work week when, like I used to do, and then on the weekend. But I did stop. I would stop once in a blue moon for a few days. So I don't feel, I probably was addicted, but it wasn't a serious addiction because I could stop at any time. I just wanted to do it, right? To forget my pain and my problems. But, the problems and the pain never goes away. So yeah, it was about maybe 4 weeks ago. I just stopped, I just got, I guess I just got tired of it. I said, I can't do this anymore. It's not, there would be times that this isn't fun for me. I'm just doing it to, like I said, just to pass out, I guess. And I feel, and, I shouldn't say I'll never do it again because I don't know. But I feel right now I never, ever, ever want to smoke pot again. For me, I know some of you out there watching smoke pot and you'll say, oh, there's nothing wrong with it. And that's fine. It's your personal decision what you do. But I'm just saying you can get addicted to anything. Just like I used to eat a bag of Doritos almost every day, a big bag when I was a teenager, a 2-liter bottle of Coke every day. You can get addicted to a lot of things, even music. But I've noticed during the day now, I'm still in pain, obviously, but I'm more alert all the time. I have more energy during the day. I actually enjoy doing YouTube videos more than ever. And like I said, it's just weird the way life works, because I would say soon after I decided to stop smoking pot, within a few days, I get this message, as some of you know, from the Sparks universe saying, Ron and Russell, after the Sparks concert, they would like to meet you. And if you don't know Sparks, they're not, even though they're into, they're in part of rock music and everything, they are not into drugs. They never have been. Same with Frank Zappa. And I don't know, it was just a weird coincidence that, when this happened, I'd stopped smoking pot for at least, 3 weeks or so. And so there's 3 people there with no pot in their system. And one other thing is, and I still have this issue, but for the past few months, I have trouble sleeping at night. I usually wake up, I go to bed maybe 10 or 11, and I wake up at like 3 in the morning, and I can't get back to sleep usually. And even today, I woke up at 3 in the morning, and I got out of bed and went on the computer doing my videos and stuff, YouTube shorts. But I'm not tired. I don't feel tired, but I definitely need more than like 5 hours of sleep. But supposedly the THC in pot kind of screws up your sleeping pattern. And once you stop it, it might take, a few weeks to get back to hopefully normal. So hopefully that will happen. But, and this is also just a warning to, I know I have young viewers too, and I hope, I'm sure some people are maybe disappointed in me, but like I said, I'm a real person. But I hope people think twice before starting, even smoking pot, right? You can get addicted to anything, right? And clean living is the best, really. I even think, I have my 1 glass of wine with dinner, and even alcohol isn't great for you. I realize that. Yeah, I also wanted, I'm going to cry. I also just wanted to mention that, the way things worked for me, I got to see Sparks in the front row, thanks to Tim, and thanks to my girlfriend Molly, who had seats further back. She said, go, sit in the front row. She didn't have to do that, but she did, And, damn it, I'm going to cry. No, during the concert, I'm just rocking out, standing up, clapping and everything. But I soaked it all in, is what I'm trying to say. And there was a point where I just closed. Don't you cry. No, there was just a point where there's just a point where I thanked everybody for what happened, right? Sparks, Molly, Tim, the universe, for, just the way things work. And, I'm proud of myself for quitting my addiction. I guess I was addicted, right? And, I don't think, like I said, I don't want to make excuses and say it wasn't a serious addiction, because maybe it was, right? But I'm done. I'm free. And so I just hope this, like I said, I'm not looking for sympathy. I'm looking to help other people out there that might be struggling with whatever, drinking or anything, that you can do it, 1 day at a time. And just try it. And and if you do, privately message me or whatever, or publicly, doesn't matter. And that is it. Thanks for watching. I love you all. Have a great day. Bye.